Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you and welcome for being here. My name is Michael Shine. Those of you who don't know me, I'm the Executive Director of the Greater Houston Montgomery County region for the Texas Restaurant Association. As you all know, Houston is gearing up for this big World Cup, 2026 FIFA World Cup, and that's a huge moment for our city, we all agree. For our restaurants, bars, and hospitality partners, it's a once-in-a-generation opportunity to really shine and show the world what Houston is all about. Today, we're kicking off the conversation with the Houston Host Committee and several community partners to look at how we can all get ready for this incredible event. We'll talk about maybe some tourism trends that may come, operations, marketing ideas, sustainability, and creative ways to make sure every visitor leaves with an amazing Houston experience. Like myself and you, whether we run a neighborhood cafe, a food truck, or a downtown hotspot, there's going to be a role for everyone in making this World Cup a success. So thank you for this inaugural kickoff event and being a part of what will make Houston shine on the global stage. So before we dive in, let me make a couple of introductions. You see a couple of folks here sitting with me. That is David Brady you see on there. David will take us with a little bit deeper dive into what lies ahead for the Houston World Cup, 2026 FIFA World Cup. David is the Chief of Staff for our FIFA World Cup 2026 Host Committee. David leads a cross-functional initiatives David leads cross-functional initiatives in brand marketing, ticketing, and community legacy. He's helped shape Houston's strategy to deliver an unforgettable World Cup experience and lasting impact across our region. He's a veteran Houston executive and founder of Brady Strategic Partners. David's held a leadership role with the Houston Texans and the Houston Zoo, driving growth, innovation, and fan engagement. A distinguished alumni of Sam Houston State University, he's also known as the longtime voice of the Texans game day. Join me in welcoming David Brady. David, thank you for being here. In addition, we also are delighted to welcome Elizabeth Carlson, a Chief Sustainability Officer at Tricon Energy and Chair of the Sustainability Committee for the FIFA World Cup 2026 Houston Host Committee. Elizabeth leads efforts to ensure Houston World Cup not only celebrates the beautiful game, but also creates a lasting positive impact on our environment and community. Her work focuses on waste reduction, community engagement, and social responsibility, positioning Houston as a leader in the sustainable event hosting. Please join me in welcoming Elizabeth Carlson as she shares how sustainability is shaping Houston's World Cup and how we all can build a legacy that moves far beyond 2026. Thank you, Elizabeth, for being here. Let me turn it over to you guys as the experts. Tell us what you know, and we'll follow along and ask questions as we can.
Great. I want to make sure everybody can see my screen. Michael, you see me okay?
I can see it, yes.
Great. So our format today is I'll start us off the conversation, talk about some generalities, and then we'll here shortly we'll jump into the legacy projects of which Elizabeth is leading the charge on the sustainability piece, and I'll let her get into some very specific information about how this can both impact and be impacted by those of you here on the call today. With that said, let's start off with a little bit of hype video. Just like a sports team, we're going to try to get everybody hyped as we kick into our presentation. Well, I hope that got you all excited to be a part of what's happening here in a couple hundred days or so in our fair city. What is happening here is the World Cup is coming to North America. In particular, there are three countries, the U.S., Mexico, and Canada, hosting across 16 different cities. You can see them here on the screen. It's the first time that the FIFA World Cup has been a part or been hosted by three different countries. It had been hosted by a pair of countries in the past. This will be the first time it's been hosted by three. It's also an expansion of the field of teams that'll be participating. We've gone from 32 teams normally that have played in the World Cup to now 48 teams that are playing in 2026. A lot of those teams have already been locked in, but there's still qualifying going on right now. In fact, I believe next weekend are some qualifying matches. In total, there'll be 104 matches across 39 days, with the first being on June 11th in Mexico City and the final being July 19th in New York City. Along the way, Houston will host 7 matches. We'll host 5 matches within the group stage, and then we'll host a round of 32 match and then a round of 16 match as well. Houston has hosted lots of great soccer events. I'm sure many of you have participated, or certainly, if not gone to, been the beneficiary of people coming to town for events like the Copa America Championship. We've hosted Mexico versus USA on a number of times at NRG Stadium, as well as Copa Oro or Gold Cup and other major soccer events. The match schedule for Houston looks like this. Our first match will be on June 14th, a group stage match. We'll have 5 of those, and then we'll start the round of 32 on June 29th, and then July 4th will be a significant match as it's a round of 16. So the winner of that will get into the final 8 of the tournament, and that will be on July 4th. We're one of only 2 matches on July 4th. The other one will be in Philadelphia. Pretty significant in that July 4th, 2026 is also the 250th birthday of our nation. So should be a lot of pomp and circumstance around that particular match. So while we'll have 7 matches, they'll all be sold out. There'll be hundreds of thousands of visitors coming to our city for those 7 matches. Our big event as a host committee is really FIFA Fan Festival, and that's going to happen just on the east side of town in Edo. We've got a 1.2-mile area that we are carving out and making a perimeter around, and that will be the official FIFA Fan Festival that'll take place. We will be hosting watch parties there throughout the entirety of the tournament. So every day, every time there is a match being played anywhere in the U.S., Canada, or Mexico, we will be hosting Fan Festival in Edo. Around that area, there's the 39 days that I talked about. We're expecting about 15,000 visitors per day and a total of about 500,000 to come to FIFA Fan Festival. Here's a little bit of a shot. This is a little outdated. Fan Festival is actually starting to really come together. It's going to be a very impressive event and exhibit space to check out. We've got a couple of partners I'm excited to have in there. When you think about 2 iconic Houston organizations, Space Center and Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo will both have major activations within this area. I think it's going to be one of those things that people are really going to be excited to come out and see. Right now, the plan is for FIFA Fan Festival to be free. There will be some VIP hospitality inside of that area that will have a fee, but the general public right now, the plan is for that to be open and free to the public. While that 1.2-mile area inside of football FIFA Fan Festival will be the official party, we're labeling the area outside of that, all of Edo, as Football Fiesta. And we're encouraging all the restaurants and the bars and the businesses in that area to really embrace this, because we see people coming down, parking, going to the restaurants and bars whether it starts at Little Woodrow's and down throughout that area, including places like Pitch 25, all the way down to the other end at J Bar M Barbecue. All those businesses, restaurants, and bars in between there, we are hoping will embrace this concept of football fiesta, and we envision it being an area where people are in and out, walking back and forth to different locations, into into FIFA Fan Festival, back out, and making a whole day of spending it on that part of town. That's the big event that we're putting on. Obviously, the games, the matches are very big and important themselves. But for the local community, this is where we see the strongest engagement coming. Most of the people who live in Houston won't be going to a match at NRG Stadium. So we're hoping this is their connection to the tournament, to the event, and something to get them excited about, family friendly, affordable, easy to get to. We're just hoping that the whole Football Fiesta FIFA Fan Festival concept is what gets our community excited. On top of that, getting excited about the World Cup coming to Houston, we hope that there's a couple other things that get people excited. One is, especially from the business perspective, is the local impact that it's having. So when you look at what we're anticipating, what the experts are saying, we're projecting right now about $1.5 billion in economic impact. That alone is the equivalent of hosting 4 Super Bowls in Houston at the same time, or within a 6-week period. The attendance and the out-of-town visitors will be the equivalent of hosting 7 Super Bowls, but from an economic impact, it's about 4 times what the Super Bowl did. And it's really a chance for us to showcase our city to people coming from all over the country and all over the world, right? You have an obvious understanding that if Argentina plays here, there'll be lots of people from Argentina coming to Houston to watch the matches, but you'll also have people coming from all over the U.S. as well, people who don't live in host cities for World Cup. So great impact to our community. How big is this event? Well, on the far right, the bar there shows the last Super Bowl, how many people watched, and those 4 bars to the left are the World Cup, and it dwarfs the Super Bowl in terms of viewership. We're hosting an event on December the 5th, where they're literally going to take names of countries out of a hopper and put them into groups. It's the World Cup draw on December the 5th at 11 o'clock our time. That event will outdraw the Super Bowl globally in terms of eyeballs and people watching it. So I don't think I need to oversell to you guys the importance and the impact and just how big World Cup is. So I talk about the economic impact, and the next thing I would say is, for us, and really long term, the most important thing is making this event a lasting legacy. We don't want it to be, this happens over 39 days in Houston, and then a year from now, everyone's forgotten about it. We want there to be impact throughout the community that goes on for years and decades, and down, generation from now, people are still talking about and using and taking advantage of things that were created during this World Cup. There are 3 pillars that we are focused on. They are environmental sustainability, human rights, and growing the game of soccer. And we've created a separate brand within the World Cup called Impact Houston 26. It's run through the Sports Authority Foundation as a nonprofit 501c3. All monies that were generated will be restricted to that cause. So as we raise money, and as we continue to focus on long-term impact, this will be the umbrella for which that falls. Those 3 things I just talked about, growing the game of soccer, human rights, defending human rights, and promoting sustainability. Those are the 3 keys for us. Elizabeth Carlson, Elizabeth, if you're ready to jump in, I'm going to stop sharing my screen, let you share yours, and Elizabeth will take you through how not only this is something that's important to our community, but how you can both participate and benefit.
Amazing. Thank you, David. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I only have one screen today. I'm a person who likes two screens, so please let me know if you all can see this and there's nothing else interfering. All good?
Looks good.
Okay, perfect. So I'm going to walk you through, as David talked about, an opportunity on the sustainability side for people to get involved, specifically restaurants, bars, coffee shops, food trucks, food halls, hotels, and so on. For us in sustainability, we really want all of our efforts to promote something good for Houston. And that can be both reputational. How do we show Houston to the world? How do we show all the great things that already exist in our community? But also, how do we create additional legacy and kind of add actions? And part of the way that we're looking to do that is through a campaign we're calling Sustainability Starts With You, HOU. And the idea is each of us can play a role in making Houston better. Sports are such a great opportunity to bring people together for a common cause, a common good. In our sustainability committee, we've been working across all levels of government, from federal and state to county and city and below, with industry, with business, with different NGOs and civil society organizations, all of the major universities here in Houston. And so it's really been a collaborative effort to try to see how we can work together. So this is a toolkit that we launched about 2 weeks ago, really. It's brand new. And it was put together by volunteers. We had support from some local restaurants, from the Marriott Hotels, the Hotel Lodging Association, Michael and the team from TRA, and so thankful for just everyone coming together to put these practices in place. The idea here is we're trying to outline simple or hard, there's different options, I'll explain that, actions that any restaurant could take in the lead up to the World Cup and earn some marketing benefits and incentives that I'll explain in more detail. But we wanted to make the toolkit or the actions as simple as possible. So put in one page what the action is, an example of where it exists already in the city, and some resources locally that are available. So that was the hope. And also the hope is to have that it can serve your business as well. So having the marketing incentives, for example, and I'll talk about those, but reduce waste, engage your customers, engage your employees, and look at the business case also. So this is a little summary. I'm not going to go through each one of these slides. I just want to give you an idea of what the toolkit has. I know you're all super busy. And so we've tried to create some executive summaries and things that you don't have to read the whole toolkit. You can just read the page that's most relevant to you. But we have a section there about, some of the business case. If you're thinking about how does this actually serve our business in the long term, what are some ways that practicing these environmental improvements could help? This is a page that details a little bit about that. We also know that it's hard. I've been working in sustainability for almost 20 years. Some things are easy. We can all plant a tree, but when it comes to something like recycling, especially for restaurants, this is a real challenge. There's infrastructure issues, there's cost issues, there's time constraints, there's staff capacity issues. And so in the toolkit, we detail some of those common challenges and a few suggestions or ideas on how to overcome them. Not saying that, everyone is going to be able to overcome every barrier for every action. And that's why we've also tried to put a variety of actions into the toolkit so that you can find what works best for you and your business. And so that comes into just how to get started. The idea is that you would look at this toolkit, look at your current operations, and essentially check what's already there. What's the baseline that you have in place? What data do you have? What are the quick wins? And then are there any long-term goals? The efforts are broken into low, medium, and high effort. So this is just an approximation. For some people, the high effort might be lower. For some people, the lower effort might feel a little bit heavier. But it was an intent to just make some, what are those more common quick wins on the low effort side? And what are those that take a little bit more time and investment to typically do? And this is the summary page. So if you go into the toolkit, which is online, you could essentially, this is kind of the executive summary. If any of these actions look interesting to you, you can click on that page and you only have to read that page, right? We know you're on, the toolkit is probably like, I don't remember, like 60 pages or something. We don't expect any of you to read 60 pages. Okay, so just read this page, think about some of the actions, and then if you want to learn more about that action, you can click on the link and you'll get the more detailed information on that specific action. We also have some hotel specific actions. So the toolkit is kind of color coded. There are aspects that won't apply to you as a restaurant, things like in-room guest recycling, for example. So those are color coded in that kind of green color below. I'm going to highlight a few here. So waste is our biggest section. You can imagine all of you are much more experts on this than I am. One of the biggest impacts environmentally from a restaurant is waste. So that could be packaging, it could be, takeout containers, it can be food waste. Or other organic waste. And so the toolkit kind of lays out just some common issues around waste. Obviously, you want to avoid and reduce first, then recycle, and so on. One thing that I do want to highlight is in Houston, whenever there's waste, like lightweight packaging, like think about styrofoam cups or takeout containers, when those blow out of the trash or just get like left out by people, they go into the drainage system, which goes into the bayous, which goes directly to Galveston Bay and the ocean. So it's a really big issue for Houston. I myself have like probably 4 times been on the boat out with the Buffalo Bayou Partnership, like sucking up the trash and picking it out of the bayou, and it is full of restaurant takeout containers and cups and all of that. And so how can we all work together to try to prevent this as our responsibility to Houston? And just some tips, we don't want you to have to tackle everything at once. Like sometimes you can tackle back of house cardboard way easier than you can tackle takeout containers. So it's just thinking about what's in your control and what are the best ways to approach those issues. And then there's just some tips and tools like this from EPA, who helped us with this toolkit about food waste and organics in particular.
Elizabeth, we have a couple people asking if this PowerPoint will be made available, or the link to how they can kind of make their restaurant sustainable.
Yes, absolutely. Everything is on our website. The website will be at the final. We can definitely share this toolkit if you guys are willing to send it out. And
Yes.
we also have the
Yeah.
direct download links that I can put in the chat afterwards as well. So people can go ahead and download the toolkit there.
Perfect. Thank you.
Awesome. And then I'm just going to like touch on a few examples. The toolkit, like I said, has a lot of actions, but if you're a bigger restaurant or you do a lot of catering, many of you may already work with Second Servings. We have a great nonprofit here in Houston to donate food, and there are other, food donation and food reuse for kind of untouched food, things like the Too Good to Go app. So those are examples of things that would count towards this on a medium effort. And then organic waste diversion is another big one for restaurants. So this could be either, in this case, this slide is showing kind of the options around donating. I'll switch to the oyster shell recycling program, which many restaurants in Houston already participate in. It could be coffee grounds going to support local parks. And then, of course, it can be other types of diversion like composting. So we do have a few restaurants in the Houston area who are already using composting as a service. So working with Moonshot or Zero Waste or any of these other providers locally that handle compost for you. Composting is considered a harder action because it is an additional cost. I mean, hopefully there are ways it can help you reduce food waste and so reduce your expenses as well, but it does take a little bit of investment. And then there's the recycling side. This is such a challenge for restaurants. If anyone on the call has a magic solution, I would love to hear it. We have found a way for hotels to access free recycling, which we're really excited about. But because they're big enough generators of certain materials, it is really difficult for restaurants. We acknowledge that right up front. But there are, some solutions in the toolkit about even replacing takeout, like styrofoam takeout containers. This is a picture from the bayou directly from one of the cleanups that I did. Even if the restaurant doesn't have recycling, just giving customers the option to have recycling takeout so they can use city provided recycling for those materials. These are more difficult, but some of the coffee shops, might offer discounts or things like that for bringing your own cup. And then there's going to be some more resources on specific types of recycling. If you're a small business, there is a free recycling program from the city, but it only provides, I think, 1 or 2 bins per couple weeks pickups. So you'd be generating like very little recycling, but that is an option for smaller restaurants that's available. And all of that is in the toolkit in detail. And I'm just going to flip through these super fast. I don't want to bore you guys with all the details. You can investigate the toolkit. But simple things like, do you have LED lighting already in your restaurant? A big question when you go up front and looking at this toolkit is, are you leasing a space? What does your lease have? Or, do you happen to have your own space? Because a lot of these aren't, of course, your decision. They might be the landlord's decision, but just thinking about what some of these practices you might already have in place that you could take credit for. And then there's a few other tips that, to be honest, are a little bit harder. Things like looking at renewable energy or buying renewable energy credits. A lot of these are more applicable to hotels, but there may be some of them, especially depending on where you're leasing your space, that actually do come into play. Things like smart controls, smart temperature thermometers, things like that. And then transportation. This is one that people forget about with sustainability, especially in the hospitality sector. There is a micro mobility service currently offered by Metro. One of the things we want to push out is public transport. So, we're working with Metro to have some materials available. So if you're promoting public transport at your restaurant, that would count as an action. If you have EV chargers, so there's a whole initiative going on in Houston around getting more EV chargers at hotels and restaurants, because that really can attract business. I mean, if you're looking to charge your EV, especially if you're a rental or you're traveling, you don't want to go to a gas station. You want to go somewhere where you can sit and leave your car charging for a little bit. So there's some restaurants that have taken advantage of this just to pull in customers. So this is just another option. It's a high effort, which means you get more points for it. And then simple things like bike racks or awareness activities. And then this is the last section of the toolkit. This is nature-based solutions. So again, sometimes we forget it's not just energy and waste. It's also how do we preserve our local community assets in terms of trees and plants that have flood resilience and heat resilience benefits for the community. So simple things like if you have a right-of-way in front of your restaurant, we have a partnership with Trees for Houston, for example. Can you plant some trees as a volunteer activity with your employees along your right-of-way if you have that? Or if you have a patio, can you put in a tree or two? Simpler act. It's not in this example, but there's also examples of doing little pollinator gardens or rain gardens. So if you have a little tiny green space that you can put that into play, or again, like a right of way in front where you can do some of that native planting, that would also count. And then many of you use local farms, Urban Harvest, and even the Post, I think, has their rooftop organic farm. There are options in Houston, and so Eat and Grow is another kind of innovation one that does herbs locally. So if you're already using any of those or you're interested in it, we do consider that a higher effort because it does take commitment and sometimes can have a pricing impact depending on the sourcing strategy. And then I said last because those are the last of the themes, but the other thing we want to highlight is that TRA has been working on a program for certifications, specifically with the Green Restaurant Association and what's called the Dine Green certification. And so this is a more advanced, I mean, if you can start from any point, but it does require a little bit more effort. So we consider it to be a higher action. I think this coloring is wrong. It should be red. But these are some different certifications that are available. The most relevant for restaurants is that first one, the Green Restaurant Association. And so this table just kind of walks through what the certification is, what you get out of it, and then there's a link to the Dine Green website. We also have on our website the link to the Texas program, because this is something that TRA is promoting to get more restaurants certified as Dine Green. And it is a really comprehensive and great certification overall. And then finally, the part you've all been waiting for, what do you get out of this? So the idea is that you would take these actions, you would earn these badges. From an eligibility standpoint, it's greater Houston area. You would look through that checklist. There's literally a flyer we have front and back that we can send out as well that has the different actions. You literally will fill out a form and check, already doing this, already doing this, already doing this, plan to do this, submit that form, and then we would go through a verification process. And essentially, you get a few points for each action. We score it up, and I'll show you the kind of piece in a second. There is one point to note, which is small businesses get an easier entry. And for the purposes of this program, we've defined small business, and you could have defined it a million ways. We acknowledge that, but we just had to make a decision. So we defined it as a facility that's uniquely owned and operated. So not a like a chain, essentially. A very local kind of individual restaurant is what we're considering to be a small restaurant for this purpose. And these are the kind of benefits and the point system. So a small business would only need to take 3 very easy actions. And we didn't go over a lot of those easy actions, but it can be as simple as an opt-out for plastic cutlery on your takeout system. It can be a lot of different small things that are listed in blue in the toolkit. If you're a normal size restaurant or a more comprehensive group, then you need 7 points. So you would have to do maybe one hard, one medium, and a couple small. I will say that most people we've talked to, a lot of people, you don't realize how much you're already doing. So think about that. Like you don't realize maybe what already you have in place, even if it's on a small scale. And then we just ask that people take one new action. And then the sort of ultimate is for those who get the certification, and that would be the 3-star badge, and you would get those full benefits. I think the biggest incentive for you all to do this, I mean, one, it's website recognition. So we will have this sustainable dining and lodging page. And two, you will have, if you're a person who likes to put badges and things up in your window or on your website, we will have that available. So it'll be these badges, and then you'll get another sticker as well. You'll get a flyer and certification, so you can market that to your customers and community members. And it's just a great way, as David said, to create legacy. So we really want to showcase, hey, we have 50 restaurants in Houston who are doing something positive for the community, for the environment. Here they are, right? And that's kind of the marketing benefit there. This is all the
Elizabeth,
details. Yeah.
I can ask before you go on. You and I talked briefly about this. What do you see as what's going to happen with this program now through the World Cup and then beyond? Is this something you think will give us some traction, and then how will that be monitored, managed, if you will, in years to come? Can you speak about that at all?
Yeah, I mean, for the immediate like World Cup, it's open from now. I already have some organizations that have submitted the application for it, and so we'll start to ramp up some of the marketing around who's already taken these actions. And so for the World Cup itself, it's just an opportunity to put your restaurant out there literally on the map. We're doing a green corridor map, and we'll have, a sustainable dining and lodging section of that map. Now, I can't promise anything around the FIFA app integration because that's still ongoing, but we hope that the map that we do will be integrated with the FIFA app. So that's really the exciting opportunity for the World Cup itself in that time period, and just showing to visitors and to residents as well that commitment to the environment. For the long term, we hope that this will lead into the program that the Texas Restaurant Association has on the Dine Green certification, so that this can be like those first steps. And then over time, as restaurants are able to mature and potentially get those certifications, it could live on through TRA and through that program with Green Restaurant Association. So that's kind of the long-term legacy, we hope.
Well, thank you.
And I'm not going to go through all these, but when we send it out, I just wanted to put more details in case you're wondering, well, I don't know, I have a food stall in a food hall. What does that mean for me, right? There's some more details on eligibility here, but it is very simple. I mean, essentially, if you serve food, you're eligible, and if it's anywhere in the greater Houston area, which includes a lot of the suburban counties as well. And that's it. This is the link to the website, and I will put all those links in the chat right now so you guys can access them, but I will pause too in case there were other questions we missed.
Is the link you said, I just checked, but the link is the access toolkit, excuse me, link is live. It is on the host committee website on community tab down at underneath sustainability. It's down around sustainability, I think it is, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
So it is live today. You can access what she's talking about now.
Yep. And I'll put a direct link in case anybody wants to just go straight to the toolkit rather than the web page.
You made a couple of comments about send it out. Talk to them again about what you mean about the timing of sending it out. What do you mean by that?
I mean, for the sending out the toolkit, everything we can share now. We have a flyer as well that's a little bit simpler than the whole presentation. The toolkit, it's just a 2-pager that kind of summarizes the whole program, so we can share that with everyone also. And then the survey that's on the website as well, there's a link to the participation survey. Once restaurants and hotels start filling that out, we've had a few already. Then we'll do kind of a monthly rolling update of all these incentives. So if you fill that survey out, it's not necessarily that tomorrow we'll get you verified and everything, but we will be, periodically going through. And this is not, the other thing I should say is, this piece of it is not a certification, right? It's a light verification. We're trusting you a little bit that you're going to be, fair and honest about what you're doing in the community. And when we deliver those badges and incentive package, we'll have volunteers do a light check. If you said you're recycling, is there a recycling bin? That kind of thing, but it won't be a full, like, no audit or anything like that. It's really trusting and doing light verification on that.
Very cool. One of the questions I have here is volunteers. Can you, David, I know you want some more you want to add to this. Was there any comments you guys can make? Are there ways for staff to assist with volunteer efforts, community service with sustainability? David, you guys can talk about that before you move to your next level.
Well, let me, I'll address that. And then I do want to let Elizabeth answer any more questions if there were any, though, first.
I think there was one from what I see on but again, on volunteer, but on sustainability type of efforts. And I would just say on that same website, there's a volunteer button. And so if you are interested in getting involved in the sustainability committee, we have a lot of projects. The hospitality one is one of about 10 projects we're working on. So if anybody wants to participate in community-oriented activities for sustainability, which is not part of the official kind of FIFA volunteer program that you may have seen advertised, you can click that volunteer button and sign up, and we'll get you on the list for updates.
FYI, Elizabeth, the link shows volunteer applications are closed, by the way. So
yeah, so official volunteer, David can speak more to that, but official volunteer with FIFA, which is a separate kind of thing. The community impact piece of Impact 26, that's a different element for community service.
Thank you.
Anything else for Elizabeth? She is working very hard, lots of hours, lots of energy on making Houston the benchmark for sustainability practices during this World Cup. And she's got a lot of initiatives, and this is a key one right here. So I'm very appreciative of her efforts and what she's been doing for our community, as well as our host committee. So I will go back before I jump back into my presentation, which is not much longer. I would reiterate what was just said. Elizabeth does have some volunteer opportunities. They're listed, she said. FIFA Volunteers, which is the group that most people will see and throughout the community. That closed. We have 5,000 volunteer spaces in Houston. We had about 36,000 applications that were started for that. We're in the process of interviewing about 15,000 people for those 5,000 spots. So those opportunities are closed, so no longer available. But appreciate those who are interested, and really the big chances with what Elizabeth just talked about. So with that said, I'm going to go back to my slideshow, and it's not much left, but assuming you guys can see that, right, Michael?
Yes, we're good.
All right, so we just got a lot on sustainability. There are two other areas I talked about. I'm going to be very quick on these because while they certainly have an impact on those of you on the call in Houston, not the direct type of commitment and participation as sustainability. One of them is growing the game of soccer. In fact, the Impact Houston 26, we literally just announced that today. Press release went out today. It's on our social media, on our website now. So for the first time ever, we're talking publicly about Impact Houston 26. You guys are the first group to hear about it in its official capacity. Literally within the last couple of hours that went out. Growing the game is part of Impact Houston 26. We're going to be announcing some initiatives later or probably early 2026 about how we're doing that specifically. But I can tell you there are some initiatives being created to not only provide clean, safe, sustainable soccer facilities for our communities, but also training, coaching, and participation for underserved communities that I don't know has ever existed before in the level that we're going to bring it. So growing the game of soccer is a huge part of what World Cup 26 looks like for our community. The third piece of it is defending human rights. two areas of our business and what we're doing here that I really struggle to get my arms around just because there's so much going on. Sustainability and the defending human rights. There's so much going on, and so much of it is a lot of it's behind the scenes in terms of the mechanisms of it. But just a highlight of some of the things we're working on in defending human rights. In our FIFA Fan Festival, there'll be a workers' rights tent where if someone believes that they're not being treated fairly, not being compensated fairly, they can go in and have someone to talk to, explain to them what their options are. We're working with the local unions. We're working with local elected officials. There's lots of moving parts to this, but the goal is to treat everyone, not just fans, sponsors, and the people you think about that always get treated well, but to treat everyone fairly that's participating in this tournament, including especially on this piece, the workers. So some key dates. We've hit on a couple of them, but I'm going to go through them again. The next really big event is on December 5th when that final draw happens. I was asked in the chat about being able to watch the draw. I mentioned it has a bigger worldwide audience than the Super Bowl. It's on Fox and Telemundo. And I am assuming that both of those platforms will have it on their streaming services as well. And then the trophy tour will be coming into town. For World Cup, this is where World Cup differs from what we're used to here in America in terms of celebration and the impact and the ancillary activities that go on. The trophy will be touring the country. The mascots have been touring the country. Houston had the three mascots come to Houston back in early October. We were the first city that they participated and came to. There's an official song for the FIFA World Cup that will be released in January. There was an official ball that is a special design just for this World Cup that was shown and announced last month as well. So a lot of extra things going on. You'll see in March, there's an album launch. Also in March, we'll have the 100-day countdown. Most cities are focused on a 100-day countdown. By the way, anytime you hear about countdown or days until, it's always to June 11th, which is the first match of the tournament, not necessarily the first match in Houston. It's to the first match of the tournament, which is June 11th in Mexico City. Ours is June 14th, I think I mentioned before. We're going to celebrate 100 days out, but we're also going to celebrate 99 days out with a special ambassador for Houston who is, without giving away who it is, who is strongly tied to the number 99 in the city of Houston. That's probably too much of a giveaway, I'm guessing. We take over the stadium and we take over the area in Edo for Fan Festival on May 1st. So that's when our jobs from operational and physical get really moving hard. I mean, they're moving now, but that's when we really start to ramp up things on May 1st. And then June 11th through the July 19th is when the World Cup starts here in Houston. Well, starts rather. I do want to mention one other thing. We talk about, oh, that's an odd, my screen just froze. Okay, let me go back a little bit. So we do have one other opportunity for organizations, small businesses to participate in the World Cup. We have something called the Art of Soccer, where very similar to what's been done with cows, bulls. San Francisco has hearts, right, that all over the city. I was in Vermont last year and they had moose all over their city. They're painted up. We're doing the same thing with soccer balls. We call it the Art of Soccer, where organizations can purchase one for $10,000, have someone, we can help you find an artist to paint them. And then you display them in your business, at your offices. You can take them to events, trade shows. We'll have some of them at our draw event party on December 5th. We had some out this weekend at the Houston Hispanic Chamber of Commerce annual gala. You get, or we'll help you find a local artist to do it. We've had organizations that have focused on kids and nonprofits. We've had businesses that have done this and donated to a nonprofit organization. But it's just a way to, when you look for, FIFA doesn't allow for a whole lot of corporate partnership. There are two levels to get involved in sponsoring the World Cup in Houston. This is all directed by FIFA. One's 2.5 million. The next level is 1.5 million. And then the third level is $10,000. That's the art of soccer. So we were looking for a way for people to support what we're doing, get involved, have a little bit of participation. You can't use the FIFA World Cup logo and marks, but it is a way for you and your customers and your employees to participate. All of the money goes to the legacy projects. It's a donation to the Sports Authority Foundation. And as I've mentioned before, that's all restricted to our legacy projects. And that's it for myself. I know that we went very fast and tried to do a general overview, but hopefully got enough information out there to get people curious.
That is great. Both of you, thank you so much. One of the overall questions I don't see in the chat, but someone asked me to ask is that, David, I know it's really difficult to project the geographic impact in the city of Houston, but with Edo, Fan Fest, the corridor up to NRG, the games being at NRG, some of the activity going on around Shell Stadium, do we think, or do we know from past events and city hosts that is this going to be something that's primarily we're going to see tourism and activity inside the loop? Or do you think there's any projection about expanding outside the loop? Any thoughts about that?
Yeah, it's tough because we get asked this question a lot, and I know everybody wants to think that the World Cup's going to have this huge impact on them. I've spoken to organizations. I spoke at the Texas Tourism Industry Association convention back in late September, early October, and I had communities from all over San Antonio, Austin, Rio Grande Valley wanting to know what the impact was going to be on them, and I was very honest. I don't think there's going to be any. But I do think for those of us here in Houston, the impact is going to be significant, especially inside the loop, obviously. But I think even outside that, to some of the outlying communities, it's mostly going to be, though, in hotels and restaurants. So imagine if you're someone from out of the country and you're coming in to Houston to watch your team play. Your team's going to play here, and 3 days later, they're going to play in another city. So you're probably not coming in for a week. You're probably flying in for 3 days, 4 days, maximum. You're going to go to the match on one day. That's probably going to take a big portion of your day. You're going to hit, I'm guessing, Space Center Houston is going to be a very popular destination for a lot of our visitors from outside the country. And you're going to probably go to Fan Fest, and you're going to go have breakfast, lunch, and dinner while you're in town, right? So I don't see this being, Super Bowl week. People do come in for a week and a little bit over a week. This event will be a little bit different in that regard.
Very cool. Some have asked about, the few minutes we have remaining, some have asked about Fan Fest specifically. Who's coordinating that? Should they be interested in participating from a food and beverage capability? Is that something they can talk to someone about or link to?
Yeah, there will not be opportunities, to my knowledge at this point, to have vendors within that. Again, we're very limited. This is a FIFA driven event. We do have, we're managing it. We're the ones putting together the contract with the production company and working with them on who's coming in. But it's the food and beverage vendor is Levy Restaurants, who also does Toyota Center and Shell Energy Stadium, and that'll be the food and beverage will come through there.
Got a question here about HPD's presence and noise control. That's a great question, Mahmoud. I mean, talk to us about that, David. Security plan in terms of what's going to happen in and around Fan Fest, I'm assuming in downtown primarily.
Yeah, I would argue that along with Elizabeth in terms of the granular work that's being done on this event, I would put her and our safety and security team probably neck and neck in just how much work and and persistence is being given to that topic. We can't. I don't know anything about noise control, so I can't answer that question. But I will tell you from just a safety and security standpoint, it is being treated like any major, like the biggest event that's ever come here. Simple way to put it. Yeah.
And I'll
Yeah.
add for noise, because that does fall under environmental in terms of just nuisance to the community. So things like noise and pollution, and light pollution as well. So we are working very closely with the fan festival vendor to make sure, of course, that all the ordinances and legal requirements are in place. But we're also looking at, like, we're doing air monitoring. I didn't mention that we will be doing the new air quality monitoring network, and also looking at some measures for noise monitoring, just to make sure that we're always within that. And all of that is being coordinated, with HPD and all the appropriate permits and authorities for that.
Very cool. Another question we had, David, from someone off camera here, has to do with branding. Those of us that have been operators for a long time, thinking about doing host parties, rallying our marketing and our teams around private events. How will we identify what kind of FIFA logo, what kind of branding things we have the ability to do and not do? I know from others who told me they pretty much FIFA's responsibility is within the game zone or the fan zone only. But can you talk about that, David? If I'm in
Yeah.
Katy and I want to do a party, what can I do or not do?
Well, I would say the easiest answer is unless you're partnering at a restaurant or bar with one of the official FIFA approved partners like Anheuser-Busch or Coca-Cola. It's Anheuser-Busch here in Houston, Silver Eagle Distributors and their partners. Your best bet is to go heavy on soccer theme and country themes. You will not be able to use the FIFA World Cup IP marks or anything like that. We are working on a document that will be shared publicly, probably in early, I'm guessing the first part of January,
Right.
addressing all these issues with a do's and don'ts that we'll make available. And I'm happy to come back and do another session like this. Michael, as you know, I've said we can do these on a regular basis if you like, to give updates. So I'd say you lean into soccer, you lean into countries and international themes, and stay away from FIFA and even the words World Cup. I had to call a radio station last Monday. I was listening to the University of Houston football game on radio, and they had an advertiser specifically say World Cup in their ad. Didn't say they were doing any work for the World Cup, just mentioned it was coming to Houston, and I had to call up and tell them that was not something they can be doing.
I need to get you that official brand police badge, for the whole tournament. Well,
yeah, probably. FIFA, I will say this, FIFA will have people in market who will be intentionally and specifically monitoring and looking for those things.
Very cool. All right. Anything else, Elizabeth, that you have? Anyone on the attending here that has any other questions?
I would just say we haven't had restaurants submit yet. We've had hotels, so I'm waiting for the first, so we can, champion that first restaurant to get the badge. So, one of you take action first.
That is terrific. As you and I talked about yesterday or so, I've not yet communicated all of this to our board here locally, our Houston board, but they're anticipating that this is kind of their first blush of what's happening, and I'll follow up with all the documents and links and whatever, and we'll get you some of those things very, very soon. We do, David, plan to, with Alexandria's help here from TRA in Austin, kind of do this periodically. So any kind of updates you give me, Elizabeth, David, anything that's going on with Chris's committee, the community committees, those kinds of things, we'll try to put that together and come back again and do an update, because we do know that this is kind of a fluid situation. Things don't change, but how we manage it will change moving forward. And so we'll rely on you to kind of tell us how we go. And I get questions all the time in our office, and we'll continue to get that. And I'll keep forwarding them to you, and then we can build another online session here in the next month or two to try to get a little bit better idea what's happening and get more attendees. How's that?
Yeah, I would say let's shoot for something in in early 2026. I think
Yeah.
it'll be a big help when we'll know. I mentioned the draw on December 5th. That happens at 11 o'clock our time. We will not know the matches at 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock even. We'll know the teams in the groups. We'll know the teams that are playing in Houston either later that night or the next day on December 6th. Once we know the teams, that could change things significantly. And depending on the restaurant and the theme of the restaurant and the food that's served, right, could make an interesting give interesting opportunities to promote and be a part of the event, based on who's coming here.
Very good. Cool. Last thing, and then I'll let everybody off this to get back to work, so to speak. Alexander was commenting here from the TRA office. You'll be getting an email if you're not reading this. By Friday, she's telling us kind of an update with all these links and things that both of these folks have provided us. And so we'll continue to try to do that. David, Elizabeth, thank you so much for all your input. You have brought a great deal to the table here. We are less confused than we were before. So we'll be in touch. Thank you all for participating here with us. Reach out to us at TRA or our office here in Houston, and we'll try to give you any information that we can as it comes available. Good luck and have a great week. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.